Hello and welcome to the daily number workout for fifth grade. We're on the number 70. So let's write the word form. 70. And since we end with the number 0 in the ones place value, it is an even number. 70 is. All right, let's get the factors out. So we have a 1 times 70. We have a 2 times 35. 3 does not go in. 4 does not go in. 5 goes in 7 times. Oops, I'm sorry. 5 goes in. 5 goes in 20. Let's see, 14 times. Let me back off of that. 14 times. Silly me. And then 7 goes in 10 times. Look at that mess up. So I leave it alone. I'm not worried about it. So we have 1 times 70, 2 times 35, 5 times 14, and 7 times 10. All right, let's move on to multiples. See, I made a mess. It's okay to make a mess. No worries. Now, 70 is an easy one because all we're doing is multiplying the front end and adding a 0. So 2 sevens is 14 with a 0. 3 sevens is 21 with a 0. We need to know our facts. 4 sevens is 28 with a 0. 5 sevens is 35 with the 0. 6 sevens is 42 with the 0. 7 sevens is 49 with the 0. 8 sevens is 56 with the 0. 9 sevens is 63 with the 0. And 10 sevens is 70 with a 0. And there we have it. So if you know your facts, you can whip this out pretty darn quick without doing all that multiplication. So today was an easy one, and I just wanted to show you the easy way. Let's move on to our partial numbers. So let me clear off my paper so I can move up for you to see better. All right. So we have fractions. Oops, they're fractions, decimals, percents, and ratios. Fit those all on right there. So let's go with 70 daily number workouts out of 100. And according to all of our factors, 70 does not go into 100, 35 does not, 14 does, but 10 does. So let's go ahead and divide both numbers by 10. That is our greatest common factor. And 10 goes into 70 7 times, and 10 goes into 100 10 times. So 70 hundredths is the same as 7 tenths. All right, so let's equal that into our decimal, 0 and 70 hundredths. So we're ending here, but we don't have to end there. If we covered this up, it would be 7 tenths. Do you see how that works? 7 hundredths, 70 hundredths, or 7 tenths is exactly the same. And you can see it here. So 70 pennies is equal to 7 dimes. Hopefully everybody can see that. And let's move on to percents. So if we're getting 70 cents off of every dollar, we're getting 70% off. We would write that in ratio 70 to 100 or 70 colon 100. All right, let's write this in words. So we have 70, 7 with the T, T-Y, 70 hundredths. And then our decimal was 0 and 70 hundredths. Looking good. Let's take that 70 hundredths and put it into money, which would be $0.70. So we're going to write that down, $0.70. And we're done with fractions, decimals, percents, and ratios. Looking good. Let's go on to area. So we've got a lot going on today. There's 4 different factor pairs. So we're just going to do it the simple short way, one at a time. So this is 70 by 1. So area equals 70 times 1. So this is width times height or depth or length, which equals 70 square units when we're talking area. And our perimeter is just adding up the sides. So we have a side that's 70, a side that's 1, a side that's 70, a side that's 1. We know from our multiples that 2 70s is 140 plus 2 more is 142 units. Let's go on to the next one, which would be a 35 by 2 equals 70 square units. So that would be a box like this, 35 by 2. And our perimeter would equal 35 plus 2 plus 35 plus 2, which equals, well, 2 35s is 70. 4 more is 74 units. Then we're going to go on to the next one, which is a 14 by 5, which equals 70. When we put that perimeter on, so 14 by 5, we have 14 plus 5 plus 14 plus 5 equals, well, 14 plus 14 is 28. 5 plus 5 is 10, so 28 plus 10 is 38. And then last but not least, we have 10 by 7 equals 70. And the perimeter there would be a 10 plus 7 plus 10 plus 7. We're getting closer to a square, not quite, but close. 10 plus 10 is 20. 7 plus 7 is 14. So that would be 34 units. And we're done with our areas. All right, let's move on to volume. So we're going to take our first one. Remember, we're only going to draw it one way, but we're going to write it all the ways we can. So this would be a 70 by 1 deep by 1 tall. So I'm going to write it up here so I have plenty of room. 70 wide by, when we say by, it's multiply, by 1 deep by 1 tall equals 70 cubic units. We can also write that as 1 by 70 by 1 equals 70 cubic units. And we can also write it as 1 by 1 by 70 equals 70 cubic units. So 3 ways to write that. Let's move on to the other one, which would be a 35 by 2 by 1 equals 70 cubic units. We're just taking our areas and giving them depth, a 1 depth. We can write this also 35 wide by 1 deep by 2 tall, just changing up those last 2 numbers. We can also write this as 2 by 35 deep by 1 tall. And we can write it 2 by 1 deep by 35 tall. And then we can go on to write it 1 by 35 by 2 tall, or 1 wide by 2 deep by 35 tall. And again, when we have 3 different numbers, we should get 6 different ways, and there they are. Let's move on to the next one. We have 14 by 5 by 1 equals 7 cubic units. So we can also write that 14 by 1 by 5. And then we can also write it 5 wide by 14 deep by 1 tall. We can also write it 5 wide by 1 deep by 14 tall. And we can also write it a 1 wide by 14 deep by 5 tall. or we can write it a 1 wide by 5 deep by 14 tall. And there's 6 there for that grouping. And last but not least, we have, and I'll draw it right here, we have a 10 across by 7 deep by 1 tall. So we'll make that look as best we can. So we have a 10 by 7 deep by 1 tall. So our volume would be 10 wide by 7 deep by 1 tall equals 70. We can write that as 10 wide by 1 deep by 7 tall. So we're just standing that shape up for a different view. Or we could write it 7 wide by 10 deep by 1 tall. Or we could write it 7 wide by 1 deep by 10 tall. And then we can also write it 1 wide by 10 deep by 7 tall. And we can write it 1 wide by 7 deep by 10 tall. And that's it for the number 70. We did it the fast way because I don't want to interrupt the rest of your classroom time. So hopefully you have that all checked off on your paper, and I'd like you to have a great day.